But first, to a case of the opportunistic Premier using the media to snooker a panicked opposition leader. This was in Melbourne last Saturday.
Neo-Nazis storm an already tense clash on Saturday between what some have dubbed anti-trans demonstrators and counter-protesters.
Look at the Nazis! Look at the Nazis!
30 mostly masked men clad in black in an odious display performed the Nazi salute on Parliament steps.
We are revolutionary!
And right there is Victorian Liberal MP Moira Deeming, one of the speakers at the event.
The LGBTQI can have their rights, that's fine, but why does it involve taking away everybody else's rights?
That was the Let Women Speak rally organised by British activist Kellie J. Keane, who promotes the rights of biological women. And as you saw, it took an ugly turn when neo-Nazis hijacked the event. And the very next day, Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews used it as an opportunity to wedge the opposition.
That rally was a nasty, hateful event long before anyone offered up the Nazi salute. Right? Be really clear about this. And you might say that the Liberal Party, are increasingly becoming a nasty, hateful little rabble. Why would you make it harder for trans Victorians?
In response, opposition leader John Pesutto straight away hit the panic button in moving to expel Moira Deeming from the party room.
Moira Deeming has had an association with people who organised the rally, along with her assistants, who have shared platforms with and viewpoints with people who promote Nazi views or sympathies. It's clear that Ms Deeming escorted at least one of the organisers through this very Parliament, then attended the rally, stayed at the rally when Nazis attended, and then celebrated with organisers of the rally after the rally and ugly scenes had occurred.
Well, there you have it, case closed. Or was it? Sky's Peter Credlin immediately spotted the trap Pesutto had fallen into, as did 9 News.
Moira Deeming is going to be expelled from the Liberal Party because she was involved in the organisation of an event with a UK woman who was interviewed by someone, and that person interviewed someone that you and I both think is pretty reprehensible. That's like 10 degrees of separation to throw someone out of the party. Is that what it's about?
No, there's more than that. There's a fuller list of things that we've included.
Are you going to make this list public?
I will look to see if I can do that.
The vote won't be held until early next week, and many of John Pesutto's allies even are frustrated that they haven't seen the evidence against Moira Deeming. It's going to be a big week here at Parliament this week.
As Credlin confirmed the next day, Pesutto's subsequent release of this list contained nothing to substantiate his claims against Deeming or Keane. He'd made the mistake of conflating the cause of biological women's rights with neo-Nazism. Some in the media recognised that the neo-Nazis had surprised everyone, including women activists.
After Saturday's Let Women Speak event,
We want the right to go to a toilet without a biological man coming in there.
was hijacked by disgusting displays of the Nazi salute.
Ms Deeming attended an anti-trans rally here on Saturday that was gate-crashed by neo-Nazis.
There is public outcry for tougher laws on white supremacy after those 30 neo-Nazis stormed and crashed a protest here at Parliament House at the weekend between pro and anti-transgender groups.
Now compare that news report to Network 10's take.
Are neo-Nazis and anti-trans activists all part of the same far-right movement? And should anyone be surprised that neo-Nazis were there?
And the ABC were not much better.
Neo-Nazis marched in formation, performing the Hitler salute, gathered in support of anti-transgender activists.
No mention of gate crashing there. There may as well have been one and the same for the ABC. Now look at how another journalist and the broadcaster kicks off with this story.
A celebratory toast just hours after ugly and shocking scenes in Melbourne CBD.
It was just a fun day and it was really great. Yeah.
Liberal MP Moira Deeming was at the Let Women Speak anti-trans rights rally when more than 24 neo-Nazis joined the protest, performing the Hitler salute on the steps of Victoria's Parliament.
That excerpt you saw at the beginning was Moira Deeming, Kelly J. Keane, Catherine Deves and organiser Angie Jones unwinding after the rally. But the ABC chose not to show you these excerpts.
And then obviously there were some other people occupying the steps, which I think we all thought, we were told by security were Antifa because they were all in black with black masks. So we thought they were Antifa. When I was alerted to the fact that there were all these masked men coming towards us, they were all in black. We couldn't see their faces. I thought that the trans rights activists had broken through the line and we were about to get attacked. I honestly just thought, this is it. Yep. We're all about to get attacked. They just walked them right through the middle. And then right as they were in the centre, in front of all those cameras, they did a Nazi salute. And that was horrifying, but, you know, that was only a split second because then, you know, they would continue to be escorted out. And so I thought, oh, good, they've taken them out. But it was only later on I thought, why did they take them out through the middle? Why did they even let them in here? Because people are saying, you know, why didn't you tell the Nazis to leave? Well, there was no Nazi symbols on them. I thought they were Antifa.
Poor form not showing that, ABC. And we'll leave you with the News Hub New Zealand's take, which defies belief. Who's the one responsible for this violence?
Neo-Nazi protesters clashing with trans rights supporters. The altercation broke out during an anti-trans rally led by this woman, Kelly J. Minshall, aka Posey Parker.
No man has a vagina! Non-binary is absolute nonsense!
The controversial British activist who claims to champion for women's rights has been touring Australia, causing major unrest.
You are the Minister for Women in Education.
Well, let's bring in tonight's panel, and I'm pleased to say I'm joined by Sky News host James McPherson and media writer at The Australian, Sophie Ellsworth. James, why don't we start with you? What did you make of that very clear attempt by some in the media to conflate the issue where there's neo-Nazis hijacking an event, conflate that with the issue of the protesters, the female activist protesters?
Well, I think you've summed it up perfectly. It was a deliberate attempt to conflate the two, when clearly there's no correlation between the two. The language used is very interesting. These are not women advocating for women's rights. They're anti-trans protesters. And whenever the media coverage did mention women's rights, which is what they were there to advocate for, they prefaced it with so-called women's rights. So I think to any fair-minded person viewing this coverage, it was pretty clear that there was a deliberate attempt from media and journalists to put these ladies together with Nazis and thereby diminish everything that they were saying about the important issue of women's rights.
Very well said. Sophie, there are very few things in this world worse than Nazis. What did you make of that attempt to conflate those two issues?
There's a couple of things going on here, Jack. Obviously, there were those people that had the Nazi salute. It was disgraceful. No one's saying that is okay. I haven't heard anyone saying that's acceptable. But these were a group of protesters marching for female rights. But the media has portrayed them as anti-trans activists. They've taken the bait and said they're anti-trans. I think that is wrong. I think that wasn't their cause. But what we've seen down here in the media is effectively the Victorian Liberal Party now all fighting within themselves over this issue. Rather than focusing on the issue of Dan Andrews' corruption and spending and so forth, they're now fighting over expelling Moira Deeming and digging up dirt files on her, which is having repercussions for them because other issues have come out with other MPs in their party. So I think the whole thing is a mess. I think the media handled it very poorly. And mind you, the ABC's coverage of it on Saturday when the protest took place, I could not find a story on their website, and their 7 p.m. news bulletin did not cover the protest. I looked for stories on this. It wasn't until Dan Andrews came out and condemned the Nazi salute that all the media, a large amount of the media, jumped on this. So the media took the bait, and I think it wasn't handled well.
Yeah, and James, Sophie raises a good point about the Liberal Party in Victoria being distracted. I mean, there is a rule before you have a press conference. You have to know the facts. It makes them look unprofessional. It makes them look like they aren't ready to govern.
Worse than unprofessional, it makes them look completely reactionary. It makes them look like they are jumping to the tune of Daniel Andrews. Daniel Andrews makes a statement and immediately the Liberals are thrown into chaos. They're reacting
Expelling
left,
their
right and centre. And they're supposed to be a credible alternative government. They're not demonstrating that at all. How can they be trusted to govern when they are so patently reactive?